Here?
David Borowitz, Peter Talbot,
Here.
Jim Jinks,
Here.
Sandy Bono, John Mylone,
Here.
Sylvia Nichols,
Here.
David Belliver,
Here.
and Tim Slocum.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing for consideration to name the room in the John G. Martin Outdoor Education Center after Frank Lohman. Can we get a reading of the legal notice first?
The town council,
Yeah, we could do maybe we could do the pledge first and then we'll.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry about that. That's not on the agenda. That's on the next agenda, but we got it taken care of, so thank you.
the town council of the town of Cheshire will hold a public hearing at 7 p.m. on Thursday, August 10th, 2023, in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider the naming of the room in the John G. Martin Outdoor Education Center at Mitchell Park after Frank Lohman. Electors and citizens will be heard in the public hearing concerning this acquisition or concerning this matter. July 2023.
And I already see our chairman of our Park and Rec is here to talk a little bit more about it.
Sure. My name is Dr. Patrick Duffy, and I am the chairman of Cheshire Parks and Recreation. And as you know, Frank Lohman was a good friend to Cheshire, and he was a great friend to Cheshire Parks and Recreation. Frank's, through his activity and presidency at the John G. Martin Foundation, he was able to secure funds for us and help us in building the John G. Martin Foundation Outdoor Education Building. Unfortunately, Frank passed away on March 19th this year after a long battle with cancer. And I would like to ask the town council to consider naming the main room the Frank M. Lohman, that's Lohmann Jr., learning room. When we had the dedication of the building on June 23, I talked to Gary Flynn, who is the president now of the John G. Martin Foundation, and he thought that would be a great idea. And so I just bring that up to you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public who would like to speak? Okay. That will be part of our agenda of our next meeting. So seeing nothing else, then we have a motion to adjourn public hearing. Second, Celia. Thank you. All right. So now we're going to start with our regular meeting. We'll pass over the Pledge of Allegiance. You already did that. First, agenda public comments. Any public communications first? No public communications? Nothing? Yep. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Tom Grimshaw. I live at 470 Riverside Drive in Cheshire, Connecticut. I'm here on behalf of the dog park. And I have assumed a position voluntarily, and I am the official dog pooper picker upper there. And the reason that that is so important is that there are certain dogs that will eat it, and and people step in it all the time. So it just makes it very bad. And what I'm asking is that it's not being maintained quite properly. It is the best dog park that's in the area by far in design, but it's not being kept up quite as necessary. And some things have to be done. One is they're not cutting the grass at the fence level. And of course, that's where the dogs like to poop. And then it's hidden because it gets all this growth. Now they'll cut on the outside, but they won't cut it on the inside, and I don't know why. And the other thing is that the poop bags have not been maintained. And there's one area that when you walk into the dog park and on the left, that poop bag area, you couldn't get into it because I don't think the key fit. So what I've been doing is I've been pulling bags from the others and putting it in there. We averaged about 30 poops that I picked up per night. And I talked to John about that, and he was not happy. And by just putting the poop bags over on that one side, that stopped about half alone. So we'd like to make sure that we get the grass cut and maintained cut so that we can clean it, because right now we can't even clean whole areas of along the fence. And sometimes when they mow it, they mow all the tennis balls and everything with it. And of course, those tennis balls are poison to dogs if they eat it. So that's another thing I do is I run around and pick up all the tennis balls that are where the surface has been broken. But if I weren't there, it would be decidedly worse. And I can't say I can maintain this. I don't know how long. But I have been doing this now for about a year. And it is, people are very nice. And we got a whole new group of people there that have picked up and we've kind of shamed into picking up after their dog. But the problem is those darn telephones, they come in and they get on the phones and then they get in that and then they don't watch their dogs. But we are having people now. I've got a team going and they'll walk over to the person and say, here's a poop bag, please use it. So what I'm asking for is, can we get some approval, or how do we get approval to cut that grass properly on the inside and maintain it that way? And there was a person there who was on the board of the dog park, and she doesn't know why. And there's also another person that was also a volunteer, and she didn't know why. So we need to get those boxes fixed so that they have the poop bags available. And now on the short side of the dog park with the little animals, there are no bags in there at all. So I'm constantly moving bags around. And the other thing I'd like to work on is I'd like to fix an area out by the training park on the far end, and the dogs dig underneath that. And I would like to bring in some stone dust and build a riprap, which would be very pretty, but I got to get permission for that, and I don't know how. I've asked, and they say, well, you got to go before somebody, and I don't know quite the process for that.
Well, thank you for that comment. And I appreciate the volunteer time that you put into the park. I know our Park and Rec Commissioner is here, and we'll make sure that our Public Works Department hears about your concerns, and we will take it under advisement.
All right, I appreciate
Okay?
that very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Public comments?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Paul Bowman, 387 Mount Sanford Road in Cheshire. So I come before the council this evening and appreciate the opportunity to speak under this venue. A resident brought to my attention a potential issue to bring before you, which I thought I would do, and it's in regarding to vehicle, personal vehicle taxes and penalties that are paid or assessed for delinquent payment. So I'm going to ask you to consider a waiver of either the tax or the penalty, or just look into the issue. I'm sure there's a state statute. It could be ancient. The vehicle in place to, no pun intended, but the vehicle in place is a person that has a concern or complaint has to go to the Office of Policy and Management at the state. There's nothing on the local level. There's not a committee or a board or anything that can hear a potential hardship and to have some sort of consideration or no consideration at all, but there's not a venue for that. And I find that something that could be used on occasion. I've been able to learn a little bit about this in the last couple of weeks, and as I hear more, it's somewhat concerning. You know, I was discouraged from bringing this before the council, and I'm here because I think it's important. And it's important for this just to be vetted publicly and a decision being made of however this body feels it should be. And if something comes of it, great. If something doesn't come of it, I understand, but I really think it should not be just swept under the carpet. I'm not really talking about a person. I'm talking about a policy and a consideration to have maybe a board or whatever the statute would allow to for Cheshire residents. My history, many of you may know, I've been involved in a lot of issues. I've been an advocate for veterans, disabled veterans, seniors. You know, I advocate for senior living and some of the things the council does for seniors. Most importantly, I'm an advocate for feeding our hungry neighbors. And this particular instance is a person, and I know we aren't going to name names, but just the situation is there's a need for this person to have a venue other than to go to Hartford to OPM, where if you call, any of you call OPM, they're going to tell you to call the town hall. And so it's a big circle, and the situation can't be resolved. It's very difficult to be resolved, because this particular person would have to drive to Hartford to be heard. How can that happen? It can't. So there needs to be a local venue, or the consideration for a local venue for people to discuss their personal vehicles. I wouldn't consider, or want you to consider, commercial vehicles. And, you know, when you look at what's out there, if you wanted to guess how many vehicles in Cheshire are in default, so to speak, and charges are assessed and interest is assessed, I heard a number. I don't know if it's true, but I heard it's over 1,000 vehicles. I don't know if any of you are aware of that. I'm going to verify that, and I will get back to you if I'm incorrect, because I don't want to misstate something. But I just think it's worthy of hearing and worthy of consideration, and hopefully this will be brought forward at some point on an agenda, so I would have an opportunity to speak more about it, and maybe some others would. You probably want to talk to department heads and staff to see what kind of impacts there are to them if you enact such a committee. But I just think it's worthy of helping someone that's in need and offering the opportunity to be heard. And that's pretty much it. My 3 minutes are up. And
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Just gonna, at this point, see if our town attorney has anything to add to that, or is,
Well, what Mr. Bowman's talking about is abating taxes and or interest for someone who's poor or unable to pay. And there is a statute, 12-124, that says that in towns that have a board of selectmen, The Board of Selectmen can decide whether to abate taxes or interest if someone's poor and unable to pay. In cities, the mayor or the Board of Aldermen can make the decision. In boroughs, the Burgess can make the decision. And in all other communities, you either have to have a committee or the municipality can apply to the Office of Policy and Management to have taxes and or interest abated for someone who's poor or unable to pay. There's very few municipalities in Connecticut that have established a committee. I did a short memo for you and gave you information, including a sample application, because if you're going to make a determination that someone's poor and unable to pay, you need information to substantiate that. And so I've given you examples of a few municipalities that have adopted ordinances. No, I have it right here. So, if you want to take a look at that, I don't know, if the ordinance committee wants to consider it, however you want to handle it. But did I give you enough? I think so.
All right, well, we'll take that under advisement. I will talk to our chair and ask that he puts it on a future meeting so that we can perhaps send it down to the ordinance committee to discuss it further. All right?
I mean, we do have a zoning board of appeals if someone has a zoning issue, and we have other venues for people who have other issues. I, for one, would like to at least see us give consideration to this. So I'd just like to state that I think there's good reason for us to at least put a system in place so that we can deal with things like this. So,
And I do know that everybody on the council here we give of our time to this community because we care about this community. And it's not just about the finances of this community, it's about the people of this community, especially those who are having a tough time. And, I know what Mr. Bowman and his family have done for many people in this community. And I think it's a good thing for us to actually look into to see if it's something that we may want to address. At the very least, we deserve, at least to help, for Mr. Bowman's sake, to have a conversation about it and discuss it further. So, right?
Yeah, that's really what I'm looking for. I think it's important that the council to know how many vehicles are really in Cheshire, how long they're on a list. I believe it's 15 years before it'll come off a list. How does the town, they're showing as in their budget before it's taking off. So how can you really count that many vehicles and to get the assessment into the town coffers? The interest charge, I think, is 18%. It's virtually impossible. And I think there's people, and I know of one person in particular that's been dead for 6 years, and there's still a tax bill. Someone needs to be vetting these lists, and either they need to go into suspense like other tax bills after so many years do, or they need to be wiped off the slate. And I appreciate your time, and I look forward to, at some point, hopefully in the near future, when this can be discussed in more detail, and I'll certainly be prepared at that point to submit more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. May I get a motion to approve the minutes of July 20th, 2023, the town council special meeting?
So moved.
Second? Sandy? Okay, all those in favor? Approved by those in, minutes of July 11th, yes.
July 20.
Yes.
That-
Should we check? Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
we're going to have approval of minutes for July 11th, 2023, and the minutes of the July 20th town council special meeting.
So moved.
Okay. Second? Those in favor? All right, okay. To the consent calendar, In Mr. Barry's absence, we'll go to Mr. Mylone.
Okay, I will read this resolution. Resolution number 08, thanks, 081023-1, be it resolved that the town council approves the consent calendar for August 10th, 2023 as follows. A, acceptance and appropriation of a $10 donation from Martin Coburn to the library gift account. B, appointment of Senior Services Coordinator Stephanie Thoreau as the Town of Cheshire's representative to the Greater Waterbury Transit District Board for the term present to July 1, 2025. C, authorization to apply for fiscal year 2024 Supporting Arts Grant Program. D, acceptance and appropriation of $16,311.07 in National Opioid Settlement Funds to the Special Revenue Account. And E, approval of tax refunds.
Mr. Jinks. Those in favor? I don't think there are anything removed from the consent calendar, so we'll move to old business. I believe a school building committee is actually meeting as we speak, so does anyone?
I'll just give a very brief update if that's all right. Just a status update, and as you said, they're meeting downstairs as we speak. They remain on schedule. They're considering schematic design approval in the near future for the North End School, and the Norton School is about 2 weeks, scheduled to be taken up about 2 weeks behind in the approval schedule. So they're, again, presently discussing schematic design downstairs as we speak. There are some important community dates coming up that I just want to make everyone aware of. One, of course, will be Fall Festival, where they will have a table and will be engaging with the community, with the architects there to solicit feedback and have those discussions with the community. This is part of the outreach efforts here. But there are also a few important meetings that the entire community is open and welcome and encouraged to attend. On the September 26th and 27th, there will be community meetings on the 26th at Chapman and on the 27th at Norton, and also what they're calling a coffee talk. Also, that's October 3rd and October 4th. All of these dates are on the website, and I encourage folks to go visit and attend as many of these as they can. They also will be presenting to the Board of Ed on September 7th, and they're currently scheduled to present to the Town Council at our September 12th meeting for an update as to where the design stands. So I think that's all I have for school building committee update, but obviously a lot of activity happening. Oh, one more thing, sorry. They will be approving or recommending the hazmat company for the potential demolition of Norton School. And they've asked if the town council would, and I know Tim has agreed, and we've sent around a scheduled email for next Tuesday to have a quick Zoom meeting of the council to get that approved. We appreciate everybody accommodating that very quick Zoom meeting, but that allows the hazmat group to get in while Norton is still closed for the summer before the school starts on August 30th. So if we're able to get that approved, which they should be recommending tonight, and then on your agenda for Tuesday of next week for a very quick approval requested of the council. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions on that? I just had one quick question. Talking about Norton, how soon after will that be torn down? Like if the new building is ready in May or June and the school year, will that be torn down during the summer and as quick as possible? Is that the plan?
That's all. Yeah, that's been the plan. It's a tight window there, but that they're hoping to have the keys turned over to the new building, as you said, in May, and things being moved in and ready, and then that will be a quick turnaround. But the plan would be to have it demolished before school starts.
Okay, thank you.
26.
The Bartland Park South update. Who wants to do that?
I can do that as well. Just a brief update from our, I know we had a little more extensive update last meeting, but we did meet, the subcommittee met, discussed the sidewalks we discussed at the last meeting. And based on budget, we did go ahead and authorize the concrete sidewalks around the areas that we indicated at the last meeting. I will say in the town manager report today, I have some nice images, and these have been updated to include the sidewalk and the bituminous area, so you can kind of see what that's going to look like. I also have a nice drone shot taken by our public works folks in the first picture. So even though it's looks just like a rendering, that's actually a real photo of the construction ongoing at Bartlam. And other than that, there's this is on the last page of your town manager report, which will be on that this one here. Yep, sure. And, or second to last page. And the only other, again, relatively minor update we've been working on this week is a request from some of the sports user groups to extend at a little bit of a lower level, a 10-foot level, some of the safety netting on the north and south side of the turf field due to potential for balls to fly off into some of the passive recreation areas or the bathroom areas. So we are working through that and have come up with a good solution for that request. Originally, there was a 60-foot area behind kind of the goalpost area. Now it's going to be extended a little further with just a little bit taller fencing than the normal chain link there. So other than that, things remain on track and on budget. And they're making a lot of very rapid progress. And we're excited to see, may see the turf, the actual turf on site for installation as early as September. So things are moving very quickly. So I believe that's all I have on that.
Sean, I have one question regarding that. One of the things we talked about when we were in a workshop was potentially using some of the additional funds for irrigating the central green area and potentially maybe doing some work on the sod there, and maybe adding some trees. Did we make any decisions on that, or is that still?
Yeah, we've put that request forward for a price. We're still waiting, I think, on the response for the price there, but we believe it'll be a reasonable request and not going to break the
So
budget.
that's still under
Still
consideration.
pending, and I think we'll circle back with the subcommittee in terms of when we get pricing on that and once it's ready to move forward, for sure.
Anyone else? Well, it is exciting to see the progress going forward, and it's going to be here before we know it. Mr. Golick, I'm sure, is excited. Could be a lot of stuff to take care of out there. Very expensive stuff to take care of, but thank you. All right, on to new business. First resolution is the adoption of a referendum projects for fiscal year 2023, 2024 annual capital expenditure budget and a call for a referendum. Mr. Mylone.
Thank you, Peter. Sound Council approves resolution number 081023-2. Be it resolved that the Town Council adopts the fiscal year 2023-2024 annual capital referendum projects items 37 through 41 and calls for a referendum for said projects appropriation.
If you
You want to wait till we get a second and then I'll.
You have a second?
Yep.
Discussion?
So these are items were approved as part of our overall budget process. Per our charter, any items in excess of $500,000 must go to referendum, or items that, in addition to a previous funding, would exceed $500,000 need to go to referendum. So these items were previously discussed, approved through our committees. They include, and it's required that they're done at a certain time frame so that the referendum could occur with our normal elections. So these include 5 items, which I'll go through quickly, which Sean and his staff were nice enough to list for us. One of them is the item 37 is the acquisition and replacement of 2 fire trucks. The amount to be appropriated and bonded there is $2,500,000. Number 38 is our road improvement program, which is the continuation of our pavement resurfacing program, and the amount there is $1,600,000. Item 39 is the Industrial Avenue Culvert Bridge replacement. That was a previous item, and it was with this additional appropriation will exceed $500,000, but this one is for $460,000. Item 40 is the acquisition and replacement of boilers at Dodd Middle School, which is an amount of $600,000. And item 41 is window replacement at Cheshire High School, which the amount of the appropriation is $750,000.
Any other discussion on this? I think we've talked about this enough, so I think we're all ready. Can we have a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? So moved by those who are present. Moving on to this, next is adoption of the 5-year capital expenditure plan for fiscal years 2023, 2024 through 2027, 2028. Mr. Mylone.
Resolution number 081023-3, be it resolved that the Town Council approves the 5-year capital expenditure plan for fiscal years 2023-2024 through 2027, 2028.
Second? Second, Mr. James, discussion?
This was our, we had already approved our capital improvement plan. I think there was, we always extend those improvements. We project them through 5 years. I think we didn't take a formal vote on the extension through 5 years, and this is just making sure we take that formal vote.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, can you vote? Those in favor? Opposed? So moved by those who are present. Okay, next one, approval of amendments to the WPCD and pool fiscal year 2022, 2023 operating budgets. Mr. Mylon.
Let's see here. Yeah, are there numbers in yours? There are no numbers in mine. Yeah. Okay. Resolution number 081023-4. Be it resolved that the town council amends the total appropriation for fiscal year 2022-23 water pollution control department operating budget by $143,171 from $4,520,829 to $4,664,000. The revenue to support this increase will come from an increase in the WPCD fund equity appropriation from $304,942 to $448,113. And be it resolved that the town council amends the total appropriation for fiscal year 22-23 community pool development department operating budget by $59,487 from $1,073,513 to $1,133,000. The revenues to support this increase will come from an increase in the pool fund equity appropriation from $36,513 to $96,000.
Second,
Second.
Talbot, thank you. Discussion?
I will leave this to Sean to explain, please.
Yep, happy to do it. So the two resolutions you have before you, as they state, they're increasing the budget. This is for fiscal 23, the previously completed fiscal year, to accommodate expenditure overages in both budgets. Both of these were planned and discussed as we went through the budget process in preparation for fiscal 24. With WPCD, the $143,000 there is almost entirely due to the $143,000 overage in chemicals needed for processing solids inventory as part of the ongoing reduction of solids required by DEEP. And then on the pool side, we had a number of maintenance projects that came up through the year that were urgently needed to be replaced. Some of those included replacement of the exterior entrance doors, the diving board replacements as those became too slippery for use, and then the updates to the building energy control system. Those all totaled about $71,000 of overages. And as you'll see, we've had to add an increase to their budget of about $59,000. There were other mitigating expenditures. The good news with the pool side is they had their best revenue year ever. We ended up net of this approximately $148,000 increased surplus. So for a total fund balance of $350,000, that compares favorably to last year's $202,000 fund balance. So I know there were many years we had no fund balance in the pool fund. We've had a successful revenue year that allowed us to offset and fund these additional expenditure appropriations that were needed for unforeseen maintenance items that came up. So other than that, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No? Okay, can we have a vote? Those in favor? Opposed? So moved by those who are present. Next one is number D, letter D, assignment of police prison cells project to the Public Building Commission. Ms. Bufano?
Yes, thank you. Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution 081023-5. Be it resolved that the town council assigns the police department prison cells capital project to the Public Building Commission. And be it resolved that the town council waives the requirements in section 2-26 of the Code of Ordinances and instructs the Public Building Commission to comply with the town purchasing policies of section 7-8 of the town charter for this project.
Second? Mr. Veliver? Okay, discussion on it?
We have approved 75,000 in the fiscal year 24 budget. And fiscal year 25, we approved 555,000. We did see pictures of the cells and there are safety concerns. This is the reason why this is being done. Also, the new design will eliminate some of the cells that we presently have there. And I believe there will be additional storage and so forth. So I will be voting to approve this.
Any discussion on that? Yep.
I'd just like to understand what we're doing when we say we're utilizing section 7.8 of the charter to facilitate design. What does that specifically mean?
So what that references is the town's purchasing policies would allow for the design services to be selected without multiple steps back with schematic design and approvals by the town council. So what they would like to do is use the same design firm that did the locker room designs, is very familiar with the building there, that did the recent major renovations to the locker rooms. In the interest of time, in order to have a design ready, because that second year that Sandy referenced, that's an estimate, of course, in year 2. We haven't approved that money or appropriated that money yet. We just have the $75,000 to design. So the request would be, and the PBC is making this request, that we are able to expedite the design phase of this so that we can have good construction estimates for the town council when we take this up really in about 9 months or so when we're ready to do the budget again. So that's the request.
So there won't be a selection process. They're already permitted to use the design consultant who's been working at the police station.
That would be the request.
Okay.
And I know Chief Drive had said that besides just doing the cells, there's a lot of HVAC stuff that has to be maneuvered around. That's why the price gets a little costly in that case. So, okay, get a vote. Those in favor? Opposed? So moved by those who are present. On to letter E, acceptance of pedestrian access easement and approval of agreement between Ball and Socket Arts, Inc. and the town of Cheshire. Ms. Nichols.
Thank you. Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution 081023-6. Be it resolved that the town council accepts the pedestrian access easement from Ball and Socket Arts Incorporated for the sidewalk to be constructed and as described in the Schedule A, and further authorizes town manager Sean M. Kimball to execute said pedestrian access easement agreement.
Wait a second. Mr. Jinks, thank you.
And we have Andrew Martelli here to explain it, but we have approved the sidewalk that's going along the side of Ball and Socket on Willow Street.
Right.
So if you'll.
So if there's any specific questions, just real simply, there's an area on where the public improvement will be constructed on the Ball and Socket property. We're seeking their approval to do so and for the unobstructed use of that by the general public in perpetuity. It's about a 1,200 square foot area, a little bit along the Sweet Claude's building, we'll call it, and then further up Willow Street where it goes into the new municipal parking area. That's under construction now.
And this is just regarding that sidewalk. This has
It's
no,
just that
no
sidewalk.
access to the trail or any of that. This is just on that side. of
It's
the
just
building.
that sidewalk. Yep. And if you look on the Schedule A attachment there, you can see it's this really small area.
Yep.
The public improvement will be encroaching on their property. So we're seeking their approval and we need your approval in order for Sean to sign said agreement.
With a brick sidewalk?
Brick and then also concrete.
Brick and concrete.
So just brick along up to the entrance or the exit rather that comes out of the behind the Sweet Claude's building. And then from there, it transitions from the brick, which is the same brick that's along West Main Street, to concrete up to the back entrance.
Anyone else? Okay, call for vote. Those in favor? Opposed? So moved by those who are present. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, sir.
Martelli. Next one is authorization to apply for the 2023 Small Town Economic Assistance Program STEEP grant with matching funds. Mr. Mylone.
Be resolved, the town council approves resolution number 081023-7. Be it resolved that the town council authorizes application for the 2023 Small Town Economic Assistance Program STEEP grant up to $500,000 and further commits to a 20% match in funds up to $100,000 for the installation of a water feature adjacent to the Cheshire Community Pool. Be it further resolved that the town council authorizes town manager Sean M. Kimball to execute any and all documentation for said grant application.
Second.
Mr. Talbot, discussion?
I think this is
Happy to take it. Yep.
discussion.
And
I
I'll,
think, yep.
Andrew will assist as we go along. So this is very exciting. This is a steep grant application request to fund the vast majority of the cost of a splash pad to be installed and constructed adjacent to the community pool, consistent with, and I just direct your attention to one of the handouts you have at your desk there, a few pages there. The first being the town council approved master plan for Bartlam Park, which we approved it. The major component, of course, was Bartlam South, but there were other elements that we discussed for incorporation in the master plan that were requested and frequently requested from the community. I would say none more so than a splash pad. The steep grant application window is very narrow. It's only announced mid to late July, and the deadline is actually next Friday, August 18th. So we pulled together some design work from BNL to do a cost estimate. We just received that today. That's the second and third page. Very preliminary, very rough, and just received, as I said. It's more of an all-in cost. And again, I know the print is a little small on the third page there. It's inclusive of everything from shade structures to picnic tables to signage and seating, but also a large component is a solution to the kiddie pool area inside so this is an exterior splash pad that's proposed, but we've also talked about how the kiddie pool area with the mushroom that hasn't worked for about 4 or 5 years, it's not ADA accessible and a variety of other things. This all-in cost would include a conversion of that area into sort of a mini interior splash pad. So we'd have sort of a year-round smaller amenity and then the kind of focal point exterior sort of warmer month amenity. So again, I know we discussed this actually a little bit. I know Councilor Bowery is not here tonight. He raised this as a request at our last meeting, but it's something I know we've all talked about many times, and I'm sure we've all heard from the public many times about the hope, and sometimes I think even the expectation that Bartlam South includes a splash pad, at least in phase one, which we weren't able to fund in the initial round. So I think that's partly why this has been a priority for all of us. I know it's a priority for our Park and Rec and our Rec Commission folks, and I think would be an enormous asset to the town and the community pool. So in terms of the actual grant deadlines and application process, maybe Andrew, you can just touch on a little bit about the process we're going through before we.
Sure. So the grant is actually due on August 18th. There's $30 million statewide for communities to go after, $500,000 maximum ask. Of that, they suggest and give preference to those communities that do put up a 20% match, which in our case would be the 100,000 if we do go for the 500,000. As Sean said, we did get this cost estimate today, so we haven't had a chance to go through it. So what we're seeking for tonight for your approval is to submit the grant for the $500,000 and the authorization for the $100,000 community match. Between now and grant submission, we're going to put it in for more than that, and then we'll have time to refine that and go through it and bring it to you guys as we go through the actual design of what we're proposing to build, which I think there's going to be a lot of people interested in weighing in on the actual design.
Yes, sir.
Where is this? Is this located where the kiddie pool is? I mean, this is proposed to be located in approximately the same location.
So do you want to?
Sure. Well, so
Right
the bulk
there.
of it, probably easiest to look at the map. The majority of what I would call the splash pad, the main splash pad feature is outside. It's this triangle
Right
here
there.
in blue in our master plan, just adjacent. That's the roof of the community pool there, and so just technically to the south and the west side of the pool. And not to confuse the issue a little bit, but as we are trying to also sort of solve the long-term viability of the kiddie pool problem, this all-in cost that the engineers have come up with does address, and they have 100,000 just in construction costs for filling in the kiddie pool area and adding splash elements to that area. Again, that's just a very preliminary concept that we floated around. We could scale that back ultimately in the budget. At a minimum, the project's going to be $600,000 we feel is, when you parse out those numbers from the budget for anything interior, it's about a $600,000 project at a minimum. So we're comfortable applying for the full 500,000 from the state of Connecticut. Ultimately, that's the council's discretion as to how large. And as we talked about a little bit last time, splash pads, how many elements you have, how many square footage they are, they can, you can sort of expand and contract the budget based on your needs. So, but in terms of the location, the bulk of what we're talking about is on that second page. You'll see a quick sketch of a potential design that's consistent with the budget that's attached. But
Right. And there's just, like we keep saying, we just got this today. There's definitely items that are in here that when we go through this and we can look at, luckily we have this grass area directly adjacent to the pool that's already fenced in, which kind of lends itself to kind of having the controlled access to make it an amenity of the pool and not just open to the park in general. But those are all items that we could look at as we move forward with the actual design. They announced this on July 14th, right after your last meeting. And so we're just, we've been hearing from the community. I'm sure all of you have heard it as well. And so there's been the last round of steep grants that we did go for the sidewalk last year. 2 other municipalities went for splash pads, Farmington, and then also Plainville, and they both had it funded through the steep program. So.
Mr. Malone?
So if we get this funding, when would the funding come through, Andrew?
The funding, they will make the announcements in September.
In September. So so we may have a few dollars from the, and that will be able to be applied to this if my understanding is correct, Sean?
Yeah, so we have, and I talked to Jim Jascott, couldn't be here tonight, but we talked about sources for the matching fund. We have a variety of options, and we talked actually a little bit about the community pool fund balance, right? That's available currently. You can't use ARPA funding. You can't use federal funding for the local match. However, as we talked about, if this does become larger than a $600,000 project, let's say it was 700,000 or 800,000, that additional delta, if we wanted to use some of the remaining ARPA money for that, in that case, $100,000 or
Not for the
$200,000,
match,
you could
but
do
for-
that. The match does need to be local, but you can also apply any spent money on design. So for instance, this initial design and cost estimate assistance with this grant, I think it's about $8,000.
Right.
That would apply $8,000 or $9,000. That now means we need to find $91,000 as our match because that applies to the 100,000.
So are we going to wait until September to even begin a process of considering designing this, or are we trying to kind of?
No, I would suggest sooner, because I think the closer we are to a final design is better. I mean, the STEEP program is definitely geared towards shovel-ready projects. This is convenient in that it's already part of an approved master plan, and it's also there's adjacent construction going on. In a perfect world, we'd see this sort of completed potentially at the same time that Bartlam Park South, technically a separate part of the overall construction there. But in a perfect world, it could be done, within a year.
So I just have a question about that. Do we have to go through a selection process? I know you have, it looks like the estimate was done by a firm that didn't design the park.
Right.
I think it's probably they're under contract for the town for consulting services. Are we deciding who's deciding who's going to design the splash pad based on experience or capabilities, et cetera? Or has that been
That's all.
decided already?
Yeah, that's up to, we can certainly have those conversations, and that's up to the council ultimately how we'd like to do that. There's no commitment to that. This is just an engagement simply to pull together. You have to submit a budget that is signed off by a licensed professional with the STEEP grant. That's something that shows the estimated budget. That budget can be amended through the process when you come into the final assistance agreement. But there's no commitment beyond the initial engagement to help get this done in a timely fashion.
I don't have a strong opinion. I just want to make sure we use a firm that has this experience
Sure.
specifically.
Yep.
As opposed to having done nearby. And maybe this firm or maybe Weston and Sampson might be well qualified. I just don't know.
Sure.
So, and I don't want to slow the process down if you're
Right.
trying to get it designed sooner. So I'm just
Yep.
asking that, well, how will we expedite this then? What process will we do to expedite it? Will we go through a process, or we're going to make a selection, or
To hire the design engineer?
or can that be done administratively? I mean, I don't know.
Got to do an RFP, it's state money.
So you're going to have to start,
Yeah,
so
public procurement.
so you'll start that process right away then?
We would, yeah. If there's
Okay.
support, first of all, if there's support here to move forward with the application, that would
Okay.
be the next process.
That's what, okay, I was just
Yeah.
curious. All right.
I mean, and because of the tight time frame, we had to use our internal in order to come up with this cost estimate for the grant submission. And then once we get the application in this coming Friday, then we can go out, put out the RFP, hire the design engineer, and then put
That's what I was
together.
asking. I'm not criticizing anything.
No, I
just
understood. And it's one of those situations where they literally give you 1 month to come up with these
Oh, this is
projects.
great.
So we're,
Mr. Jinks, do you?
No, John already asked all my questions.
All right, anybody else have? Yep, Mr. Willis?
I just want to say, I think this is a great idea, and I know we've all been talking about this idea of finding some way to add a splash pad to this project if we can. And so I think this is a great opportunity to do that. I think not only will it help improve the project as a whole, it will also, I think, be a great addition for the community. I know we've had a lot of residents talk about this, like, hey, wouldn't that be a great idea? But I think it would also be helpful for the pool as a whole, you know, as a resource for the pool project. And so I think it's going to hit a lot of, you know, a lot of good points for the community. So to the extent that we can get this done, I think this is an important project. So thank you for your efforts on this.
of course.
Yes, I just want to make a comment. I want to thank you for expediting this so quickly, since you obviously are under a timeline, and we appreciate your efforts. Thank
Of
you.
course. And could I just say one thing? I have to embarrass somebody. So this gentleman here, this is Noah Sussel. He is our student intern. He's a rising Cheshire High School senior. I did a presentation on economic development at Cheshire High School, and he came up to the podium afterwards and said, I want to be your intern. And I was very persistent. And so he's been joining us. He's been doing research on splash pads over the past week, cold calling municipalities across the state of Connecticut and putting together a lot of information. We actually have an appointment to go visit some splash pads in Waterbury. So he's doing a great job. And so he's
Welcome.
Welcome, Noah.
Welcome.
Yeah.
not too embarrassing. I told him he had to give a 5-minute speech, but we're gonna let him out of that tonight.
Next meeting.
Thank you for your work, Noah. We appreciate that. And
Don't have too much fun in these splash pads.
yeah. The one thing I do hope that part of the project will be to do the inside one too. You know, being here in Connecticut, you know, we do have about 5 or 6 months where we can't be outside, and it would be nice to have one inside too, and to remove that
Chain link
dreaded
fence.
mushroom that's
Yep,
been
and that chain link fence.
been there for a long time. So I'm hoping that we can find the funds to do this there. Okay, so let's call for a vote. Those in favor? Opposed? So moved by those who are present. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew. Next is consideration of naming a room in the John G. Martin Outdoor Education Center after Frank Lohman Jr. Ms. Fabano.
Thank you. I'm honored to make this resolution. Be it resolved that the town council Town council approves resolution 081023-8. Be it resolved that the town council names the main room in the John G. Martin Outdoor Education Center in honor of Frank Lohman, in recognition of Mr. Lohman's generosity and unfailing dedication to improving his community. The town is grateful for his outstanding citizen and is proud to memorialize Mr. Lohman by naming this room for him.
Okay, thank you. Discussion?
I'm proud to say that Mr. Frank was a friend and one of the most generous, kind people that this town of Cheshire has ever seen. The additions and all the things that he's done in this town will go down for many years. And I'm very honored that we are going to do this and name this after him. It's so wonderful for him to have this done, and I'm honored that we could do it.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Bellinger?
Thank you very much. I just want to say, I must say, as a kid, I didn't really know Frank all that well, but we grew up as neighbors, and I was friends with his kids, and we grew up in the same neighborhood. And as a kid, you don't really know people all that well when they're, the parents of the kids. But as over the last few years, it's been truly a pleasure to have had a chance to get to know Frank better. And see what a wonderful and generous person he is for the community, but also really to get a feel for what he has done for this community, what this community meant to him, and what he meant to this community. And so it truly is an honor for us to, to first off, that, his generosity led to this building as a whole, which is truly a great addition to Mixville Park and to the town. But so it's truly an honor to be able to, give this honor back to him and name this room in favor of him, because I think he deserves it, and it truly was a work that he brought to being. So thank you for this, Ever, and I will be supporting this.
I just had a couple things to say about Frank. I got to know Frank pretty well over the last few years too, and I think he'd be the first to say, "Don't name anything after me." He didn't. That's not what he did this for. As you drive down Route 10 or past the fire station, or you see signs up there that he funded for this town. He's done so much for this town, and I think, as Dr. Duffy said earlier, this is a small thing that we could do for Frank, and his name will live for generations to come. And I hope that, 50 to 100 years from now, somebody looks up and says, Frank Lohman, I wonder what he did. And they read about what a great man he was for this community. So I will fully support this, and I'm happy to pass this along. So with that, can we call for a vote? Those against? Nobody? And I think so. So moved by those who are present. Thank you very much. Next is, that will be me. It's appropriation of $11,100 of NEF funds for the Chapman School Organic Waste Diversion Pilot Program. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves resolution number 081023-9. Be it resolved that pursuant to the recommendation of the Solid Waste Committee, the Town Council appropriates $11,100 from the NIPS Environmental Fee Fund to implement an organic waste diversion pilot program at Chapman School. Mr. Belliver. Discussion, the Solid Waste Committee met last week, and then from Board of Ed brought to us the whole plan of what they want to do with the funding. Part of the NEF fund that we get, we have to use it to help either towards recycling or cleaning up the community. And I want to just give a shout out to Fiona Pearson and the Sustainability Committee who brought this to my attention probably over a year ago. And we had been discussing this for some time now. And it's important. This is important to teach our young people a way to start recycling through schools. And there are several schools who are doing this around the state, and it's been a very successful program. It's not a lot of money to put up. The biggest upfront money is to buy the waste sorting stations, but after that first expenditure, you're basically paying for the pickup of the recycling and for the bags. And part of the thing is, Blue Earth Compost, who is the company that will be picking up the recycling, the compost that we're doing, will create compost from the recycled food that we give them, and we can use that. Well, we have to buy it back from the compost in gardens that we have. And I know Vin had said that they just set up a greenhouse behind the Humiston to grow vegetables and things like that. So I think it's great part of the environment to show, how trash can go somewhere and come back and help grow new things. So if you look at what we have and there's some pictures of the sorting stations, and there's a lot of different ideas that they had. It was Erica who's who's in charge of the food maintenance for the Board of Ed. She was talking about how they're going to have to switch over from the styrofoam containers to cardboard containers, which are a little bit more costly, but it's only a matter of time before the state forces us to do that anyway. So, but other than that, the biggest hurdle will probably be teaching the children at the beginning how to do this. But I think, the kids in this town are pretty smart, and once they do it a few times, they'll figure it out, and I think they'll enjoy knowing that they're helping the environment and helping their community do this. I don't know if anybody else had anything to add, or Sean, did you have anything to add to that?
The only thing to add is just that the balance we had asked earlier, the balance in the NEF fund is about $27,000. So there's,
Correct. Yep.
More than enough currently to fund this first year of the pilot.
And we're just going to try it for this one school, and if it's successful, we hope to implement it in the other schools as we go forward.
Comment, solid waste issues are becoming a bigger and bigger issue for most municipalities and what we're going to do with our garbage going forward. So this is kind of it's a good first step, and the schools are kind of a low hanging fruit. So hopefully this goes well and we can roll this out to the other schools. But the, probably doing something on a broader community basis is down the road. The potential for reducing the amount of waste that we, that goes into landfills and that we have to collect and pay for. There's a lot of potential to reduce that cost if we can remove organic waste from the stream. So it's probably something that we're going to have to address really more at a community level too at some point. But as I said, this is a good first step, and very supportive of this initial effort.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This project is I think is a good first start. It's a relatively inexpensive way to really get our feet wet to try to start with this, because I think it is going to be sort of a trend for the future and something that we need to move in that direction. So for a fairly minimal cost, we are going to be able to see at least quickly, how does this work? How can we improve it? What things need to be done? And the thing I liked about this discussion that we had with the Board of Ed or the education people was that one of the things that we discussed was the fact that, at these schools, the level of food waste is so high. People, that unfortunately many of these kids, they take the food, but they don't eat it. Because they have to
take it.
Right. They're forced to take certain foods that they don't want to eat, or they just don't do it. They don't finish it, or they take it, and they just throw it out. So one of the things that we discussed was there was a lot of food that was going straight from onto the tray and then right into the garbage, and some of that food was non-perishable or at least maintainable because it was packaged. And as a result of that, one of the things that we discussed was the idea that they had a relationship potentially with the Cheshire Food Pantry to bring back some of those items that are bagged or otherwise intact, so that they can sort of gather those and donate them to the food pantry, so that they are reusable for that purpose too. So there's sort of two benefits to this program. One is the potential to take some of that waste out of the trash system, but also to potentially reclaim some of that food that is perfectly usable and can be redirected to other avenues like the food pantry, and then reutilize that as well. So I think this program has a lot of potential, and it'll be a good first step to see how we can utilize it and also potentially either improve it and expand on it. So thank you.
Yeah, there will be a small refrigerator left there, where if they don't open a milk carton, they could put it in the refrigerator. Things that have to be refrigerated, they could put there, and then other things that they don't open, and the food pantry will come to the school as needed to pick up whatever's there. So, yes.
I think you're all right in everything you all gentlemen have said, but I think the one thing that you're missing that is maybe even the most important is that we're beginning to establish habits with our youngest people who come home and tell their mother, we have to recycle, we have to do this. And so it is an education that we're starting. And as Jim said, it may be a small step, but when we start out with them learning as kids in school, they develop the habits which will then move forward. And it may take some time to see some results, but it's a good habit to get it started. So
Thank you. Anybody else? Nope. Let's move to a vote. Those in favor? Opposed? So moved by those who are present. Thank you. The next one was we're going to put off to after At the
End of the meeting or
at the
or
executive.
tabled.
Okay. So then we're going to move on to the town manager report and communications.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, just a few quick updates. Start with the senior center. The senior farmers market nutrition cards are now available at the senior center for Cheshire residents 60 and over who meet financial eligibility requirements. Please call the senior center for details. And also the senior center's partner with Chester Cat will be holding a flu vaccine clinic on Friday, September 8th from 10 to noon. Please again, contact the senior center for any details or to schedule an appointment. Just a few economic development updates from the bar planning grant. The steering committee has been working with SLR and town staff to conduct one-on-one interviews with property owners in the area over the past few weeks. And that process should be wrapping up next week. Community-based design charrette will be scheduled in the next few months, and feedback from key stakeholders has been very positive. AJ Steakhouse has taken over the former Yugu Hibachi and Sushi restaurant at 195 Highland Avenue. The learning experience is wrapping up construction. We'll be seeking their certificate of occupancy in the next few weeks. And also a certificate of occupancy has been issued for the new dental office at 306 Highland Avenue. Attached on the last page of this report, you'll see a project completion report from the PBC. This is from the restroom upgrades project at Quinnipiac Park. So just please be sure to take a few minutes to read through that successful project. Also, congratulations to Officers Michael Kahn and Officers Oscar Rivera on their new assignments. Cheshire's two new school resource officer positions. They take the place of Gretchen Ovesny and Dave Mallier, who have been serving that role for the past 5 years. And we thank them for their exemplary service during that time. Just one more Bartlett Beats concert this season. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't really cooperated this year. The first one was rained out both on the regular date and the rain date, but the others have been very well received, including the one earlier this week. And this one is not to be missed this Friday. August 11th is Heavy Hitters, the classic rock band. Again, the shows start at 7 p.m., so be sure to check it out. Again, they've been very, very successful. Next few I know I had in my last month's report, but they're just really important, so I just wanted to remind folks, the new MyRec recreation registration system. If you've ever registered for anything through recreation here in town, we have a new system now. You have to create a new account, but it is much more user-friendly, and it provides for much more dynamic communication between us and the folks that have signed up, announcements of field closures, and all sorts of other great things. And also, once they have additional programming to put on, both Arts Place and Youth Services will be utilizing this functionality and payment system as well. So we're expanding the reach and providing for electronic means for Youth Services to take fees for some of their programs as well. So it's a great upgrade. Again, a bulky waste reminder. All of this is on our website. The first item right on our homepage. Bulky waste begins Monday, September 11th. Again, I won't go through all the information there, but please be sure to mark your calendars, note your street for your collection week, and be sure to take advantage of bulky waste this year. Also listed a number of other recycling and collection events: mattresses, electronics, household hazardous waste through the RWA, and grass clippings. So also from Public Works, the paving schedule for round 2 this year is tentatively scheduled to start the paving September 25th, which would mean milling work done with a typo there, September 18th, about a week in advance. Again, the roads that will be taken up in round 2 are Country Club, West Johnson Avenue, and Wallingford Road. And again, another reminder, Fall Festival, Saturday, September 9th. We're sure to be a great time. Some of the final plans have been just circulated this week in terms of where locations, where the tents and the tables and all the activities are going to be. It looks like a wonderful design, wonderful plan. Parking will be a little bit, trickier than usual. Obviously, the construction's going on, so please be sure to carpool. And parking across the street at the high school will have, obviously, traffic control there as well. But as I mentioned before, we'll have school modernization, school building committee folks there, architects, and a lot of other great activities. Other town departments that always participate, Park and Rec and Library, and everyone else will be there, along with many businesses in town. So, and other than that, you see a number of upcoming special meetings with the council, including our regular meeting in September 12th. We have a special meeting, both a Zoom meeting the 15th next week, and also on a special meeting on August 29th, as well as the Fair Rent Commission Selection Committee group meeting on the 6th and 7th of September. And again, I ended with some nice photos and renderings of Bartlett Park South. So that is the town manager's report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate that. We also got in our packet the police and fire reports. Just one quick thing I noticed our motor vehicle theft was double what it was last July. So just a reminder, please lock your cars because a lot of these thefts are due to not locking your cars and leaving your keys in it. So please lock your cars. I know Mr. Lohman would like that because it was a big thing of his to have the signs put up all over town, which I will have to talk to the safety committee because I am storing those signs, just so you know. So they might have to go back out. Okay, reports of committees to the councils.
Yes, planning met, we are gathering information for sidewalks. We don't have enough information to bring to the council yet. A lot of information that we're gathering at this time, so we will report at a later time.
Okay.
Thank you.
No report?
Personnel is in process of reviewing the process of evaluating town manager's work process for last year and perhaps changing the process slightly and timing of that. You will hear from us soon.
Solid waste, we just went over, we just passed that, so. That's okay. All right. Next is miscellaneous. Well, there's no miscellaneous, I'm sure. Miscellaneous appointments. So let's start with the liaison reports.
Thank you. Sure. On the Historic District Commission, one of the things we met the other, I guess, earlier this week. And one of the things that the Historic District Commission is looking at is the fact that the Historical Society building here on the town green is in a little bit of rough shape. And is going to, and so they are going to be evaluating the property. They've done a walkthrough. There were some issues that they have located. And so they're going to be, as one of their projects, they're going to be looking at that and trying to appraise the property as far as what repairs need to be done, and possibly seeking potentially grants for some of that planning to see what needs to be done. And then ultimately trying to make sure that at the building, it's not an imminent collapse, but it definitely needs some work. There's some work that needs to be done. So that's the projects that they're going to be looking at and working on. So that they had, that was a topic of discussion at the last couple historic district commissions. So we just wanted to mention that to the council, that is something that they're looking at and that property needs maybe a little bit of work.
Thank you.
Library Board did not meet this month. Performing in Fine Arts is excited. They're already packing their bags to get to Ball and Socket, and so they're making plans. And they're very excited and appreciate our support for their program.
Cheshire Housing Authority, if you drive by Beachport, you'll see brand new sidewalks that just went down. Doing a lot of work over there. So, it's really shaping up. They've done a lot of work interior on a lot of the apartments, and now they're working on the exterior to do it. So they're moving forward. So
No reports?
No report. Jim?
Just a quick report on Public Safety Commission. I think I mentioned previously that they were thinking about buying a e-bike for the police department, and they did actually donate $2,500 to the police department toward an e-bike. So that's I've actually seen recently. I think Wallingford was just donated a bike, and maybe Middletown. So this is like something that's starting to happen in police departments around the state. It seems that they're starting to get e-bikes. So I don't know if we were ahead of the curve or not, but I think we'll have one soon.
Makes sense. Okay. Are any appointments to boards or commissions? No? Yes. Peter?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Tonight, I bring forward the appointment of Carol Doheny to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission. This is a new appointment to fill the vacancy of Jennifer Dillon. Term of office is 8/10/23 through 1/31/25, and Ms. Doheny is a Democrat.
I will second that.
Discussion? You have a vote? Those in favor? Opposed? So moved by those who are present. Thank you very much. On to the town attorney report.
Just quickly, the town, as of last Friday, is the proud owner of 19 Wallingford Road. And by this time tomorrow, will be the proud owner of 1180 Jarvis Street.
Nice.
We're moving in. Okay, any Anyone have any letters to the council? Anyone? Nothing? No? More miscellaneous? No miscellaneous? Okay, so we're going to move to have a motion for items for executive session, which would include land acquisition, pending litigation, personnel matters, to include our town attorney, well, everybody except Andrew and those two.
Noel.
Noel too, yes.
So moved.
Okay, those in favor? We're going to come back out for a final resolution.
Potential action.
Potential action. There you go. Thank you.
Good night.